Welcome, everybody. We're so glad you could attend our DevTalk today. This is Stacy Kruzik from the Dev Relations team here at Zebra Technologies. I just wanted to open up today's DevTalk with a couple of items, and we'll wait for a lot of people to hop on here as we're talking through this. You can always visit us at our Zebra developer portal at developer.zebra.com, and we encourage you to join our developer community. It's completely free. And for instance, we'll have this DevTalk webinar up and available for viewing, as we'll post it there and on our YouTube page. And we'll also have Stephen's presentation today on Z Designer up on the developer portal on that blog as well. It's a great wealth of information and activity, and we strongly encourage you to join that. And with that, today I'm going to be turning this over to Stephen. One other quick housekeeping rule. We will take questions, of course, from you. There is a question box chat room on your webinar, and we're happy to take those questions, but we ask that we take those at the end so Stephen can get through his entire presentation. So note those questions, feel free to throw them up there, and at the end, I'll go ahead and pose those to Stephen, and he can try and meet those needs for you. And with that, I am going to turn it over to Stephen. Thank you and welcome. And there you go.
Thank you, Stacy. I'm Stephen Say. I'm a software engineer from Specialty Printer Group at Zebra. Yeah, today we are going to talk about the Zebra Designer for Developers, the third edition. The Zebra Designer for Developer is a tool for developers to create a label and reset templates. When we talk about the Zebra Designer for Developers, we got to talk about the Zebra Designer application family. Zebra Designer is a suite of applications containing a number of label design applications. So we are going to give you an overview of this family and its update. And then we will dive into the developers edition. We will cover what's new in the Zebra Designer Windows driver version 8.1. And in the last part, we will provide you a number of examples how to use the output of the Zebra Designer for Developers label design and reset design template tools to integrate with your solution, including Print Connect, Print Station, as well as with any other apps. So now, yeah, let's get to the family of the Zebra Designer. So as we mentioned, it's a suite of the tools and also including drivers for label and the template reset template designs. The suite of applications, we call it LDA, label design applications, included in the Zebra Designer, are Windows-based. Those applications make the label design very simple and easy by offering the most used label design features. Of course, because it's based on the Windows system, it comes with the Zebra Designer Windows driver. So the purpose of this driver is to make the configuration of our printers a lot easier and simple. You configure, set up the label width and length through the UI interface of this Windows driver, and then configure the corresponding printer models that connect to the computer, either through the network or through USB, para, or serial port, various connectivities. So this diagram shows a high-level view of how those Zebra Designer application organized. So the left part is the application runs on the Windows PC. The right part is a printer. You connect the printer to your PC through either network, USB, or serial or parallel ports, as well as a Bluetooth connection to allow some of the laptops, Windows laptops has a Bluetooth. So why do we need a Zebra Designer, this tool? when a developer start to create print applications, the first coming in mind is how the label will look like, right? Our labels is based on the print languages. So instead of learning the printer language, we provide a tool allows you to design a nice readable label without knowing the detail of the printer language. So that's the purpose we provide the tool. And the label is a part of one of the integral part of the whole development flow of a label print application. So in the middle, you can say we supply the Link OS SDKs, allows developers to create an application easily. So that's the SDK to take care of the discovering, connect to a printer, and the application connects to a database, for example, or connect to a UI interface, allows the data inputs at runtime, and then populate those values to those variables we defined in the receipt or label templates, and then send this data stream to our printer to print, and then you see a label at the end. So when we do the Zebra Designer, a suite of tools has been released a number of years ago, and recently we did an update. We call it version 3 updates. So the reason we provide those updates because we want to improve the way how to integrate the output from those tools with your solution. And also we simplified the offerings, and in a later slide you can see how we simplified those offerings in the version 3. And also we added a number of developer features to help the ISV community to how to use those tools in their print application. And certainly we update the user interface to make sure the workspace, the style and look and feel matches the latest modern style of the Microsoft Office applications. And we enhance the RFID and also make it simpler, in the installation and upgrade. So before the update in the version 3, what we had is like 4 independent applications plus 1 driver, the Windows driver version 5. So you can say those are 4 different applications: Zebra Designer, Zebra Designer Pro, Zebra Designer XML, and Zebra Designer MySAP. So it's quite complicated. Now in the version 3, in this update, what we did is we combine those Zebra Designer and the Zebra Designer Pro in version 2 into Zebra Designer Essential plus Professional in one single installer. You get 1 installer instead of 2 separate applications. Make it a lot easier to manage. And also we update the Zebra Designer Windows driver from version 5 to version 8 in the Z Designer version 3. We made those updates for the Essential and the Professional available in August this year. So it's 2 months or 3 months ago. And then we improved Zebra Designer XML, and in the version 3, we renamed it as Zebra Designers for developers because we added new features for the ISV community. And also we put the end of life to the MySAP. So the last part was made available in the beginning of October this year, and the MySAP, we put it end of life. So that's give you the overview of what we did in the update of the version 3. Here you can see with this update in the version 3, you can see there are just 2 independent installers: Zebra Designer Essentials and the Professionals, and the Zebra Designer for Developers. So there are 2 installers. On my left side, the Essential and the professional editions. The essential part is free. You use it for free. And for the professional edition, right now it's in an introductory license price, only $50 until the February next year. But however, when you download the installer for the essential and professional edition, and the first 30 days, you have the full functional features from the professional edition is free. So you have a 30 days trial. With the essential and the professional edition, you can use those tools, to print labels, and with inputs, you will it print. And also those two editions allows you to connect to the database and do some like VB scripts as well. So you can use them as a tools in your production. So basically print out the labels. All right. And on my right side, that's a Zebra Designer for developers. Those are the tools are used. You can download for free. The purpose of the developer edition is to make sure you have a tool at your hand to create a label template for your application. You don't use this tool to print labels for your production. You use a template generated by the tools to integrate template with your application. So that's the purpose. So there are various styles of the template. We have a template in ZPL as well as a template in XML, right? And also we have an output format allows you to integrate the output with print connect or print station, which are two elements in our print DNA. And this developer edition is fully compatible with Zebra Designer for XML version 2. So if you have used Zebra Designer for XML version 2, you can very easily to migrate to the developer edition, and the developer can even open up those files, label files you created through the XML version 2. And one important part of the Zebra Designer for developers, in this edition, we include the generic drivers. So with those generic drivers, you don't have to have a physical printer to connect to your Windows station in order to design a tool. So you can use a tool to design a label or templates without even a printer, as long as you know what the resolution you will have, like 200, 300, 600 dpi resolutions. So that makes this tool is much more convenient, for developer to use, because you don't have to have a physical printer before you do the label and the receipt design. Okay, some of the content we probably already touched a little bit in the previous slides. So why do I need a Zebra Designer for developers? Yeah, we said, this tool is for developers to create templates to incorporate that into your application. So the templates has XML enabled printing, ZPL enabled printing, and also allows you to create the output for your enterprise connector for the Oracle applications, and also supports the print connect and the print station for Android apps. So this tool, that's a full purpose to help the developers. This addition of tools, the main purpose is to create templates for the labels and the receipts, right? And the essential and the professional edition only allows you to print a number of labels at the production. And also this developer team fully supports the version 2 Z Designer for XML. This link, this vanity URL, you type in the zebra.com/Zebra Designer, that can lead you to the Zebra Designer suite of label design tools on our website, and as well as the support pages. That's where you can download the application. From now on, all those LDA label design applications are delivered to you through the download. We are not going to send any disks anymore. And also on that vanity URL, you can find the support pages. So if you have questions, issues, you can always go there to get answered. And as mentioned, there are two separate installers, one for the developer edition, the other installer is for the essential and pro editions. And after 30 days of your installation of the essential and the pro edition, you will be asked whether you are going to upgrade that to the licensed pro edition, or you want to continue with the essential edition. So that's where the application will prompt you whether the trial period has expired or not. And the support for the V2 edition will continue until the end of 2020. The system requirements for running the Zebra Designer for Developers version 3 is covered in the release notes and the product support pages. That's where you can easily find out. So once you have the application installed, you can go to the help about. So that will give you, you can read the release notes and the README file. From there, you can see the system requirements. But on this slide, you can see a quite a large number of systems are supported by the Zebra Designer, from the Windows 7, Windows 8, Windows 10, and up to the Windows Server 2019. And also the specific CPU memory and hard drive, those requirements are usually commonly supported by the nowadays NVIDIA laptops. So it's not going to be an issue to find a supporting computer system. And for the Zebra Designer version 3, one thing we want to remind you is this edition only supports the Windows driver version 8.1. So if you already downloaded since the Zebra Designer Essential and the Pro Edition was released back in August, you may have already downloaded that application. But when you install the drivers for those two editions back in August, maybe you have the Windows driver version 8.0 installed on your PC. So before, when you start to use the Zebra Designer for Developers, when you install that, it will upgrade that to the 8.1. So I just remind you, because the developers edition only supports 8.1. Because 8.1 provides the generic drivers, which is needed for developers who may not have a physical printer in order to design the label and receipt templates. And also the Zebra Designer Windows driver version 8.1 only supports the Link OS printers, as well as ZPL only. ZPL is the only language supported by the Windows driver version 8.0, 8.1. And 8.0, 8.5 can continually be used by can continually used by your Windows by the Zebra Designer Essential and Pro Edition. But however, once you upgrade to the Windows drivers 8.1, you may not be able to select it, right? And since we said, the version 8.1 only supports Link OS printers as well as the ZPL language. So if you have an old printer, with CPCL, EPL capabilities, you may want to continue use version 5.x drivers for those old applications, for those old printer models. Okay, in terms of the compatibilities, version 2 of the equivalent application of the Zebra Designer for Developers is the Zebra Designer XML. So as you mentioned, the Zebra Designer for Developers is fully supports the XML edition in version 2. So you can still have your label design files, stored as .lbl being opened by the v3 edition. But however, once it's opened by the v3 edition, when you save it, it will be saved as .nlbl, new LBL format under the v3 edition. On the installation side, since this installer for the developer edition is a separate installer, you can have both XML as well as developer's edition coexist on your PC, so they don't interfere with each other. They are separate two applications being treated that way. And but as mentioned, if you have old label files in LBL, it can be reused in the version 3. If there are some unsupported features in your label label file, we will prompt you with warnings about tells you which feature is not supported through the warnings. If you want to know the more detail about the differences, you can always go to the about screen on the developer's edition application to read the README file. So what's new in the Zebra Design version 3 versus the XML version 2? One thing is a workspace for the reset template. In the past, we have to have 3 separate workspace. Now we integrate them into one as a reset environment, allows you to design the header, body, and footer in one workspace. So that makes it a lot easier. And secondly, the workspace style would have the exactly same look and feel as the modern Microsoft Office application styles. So all the applications in the Zebra Designer version 3 have the same look and feel. Of course, we provide the generic driver to cover 3 different resolution of the printer heads. 200, 300, 600 DPI printer heads, are supported in the developer's edition. And also, it has various ways to generate the output for different purposes, including the support for the print connect, your third app, print station as well. Let's take a summary look about the differences in a chart format. So you can say the last 3 rows indicates what only included in the developer's v3 edition. So those are the generic driver with different resolution heads, and also the reset design environment, and also output the template files in various ways, allows the application to search and replace those variables in those templates. We probably already covered some of the new features. So now we still want to touch base on the supply parts. When you design a label, you first come into mind what type of the media you use. If you use Zebra supplies, a lot of part numbers, almost all of the current part numbers are included in the driver. Also in the past, on the left side is the UI in the V2 edition. Now on the V3 edition on the right side, you just select the part number, which will automatically configure the label dimensions for you through those drivers. So it's a lot easier. And also mentioned the workspace. So this is the workspace of Zebra Designer. Particularly, this workspace is for the reset design. So you can say we circled the header and the body footer. You just pick up which one you want to design on, and make it integrate the reset design easily in one workspace. So eliminates the needs for separate files. We also mentioned the generic drivers. So this comes with the LDA installation of the developer's edition. So when you install this edition, you automatically get those generic drivers for 3 types of printhead resolutions. One important feature we want to remind the user here is about on the new driver. On the new driver, you see those green boxes, right? Because we have we add those features in the driver, allows user to choose whether to use the driver to control the printer or let the printer's setting to control the printer themselves. So you can choose through those green boxes. So if you check, for example, send this parameter to a printer, which means you let the driver to control the printer. Otherwise, if you select the one on the bottom, which means you let the printer, whatever settings are already on the printer to control the print. So that makes this kind of a unique feature, useful feature. Sometimes you don't want to override the settings on the printer, so you can let the printer to control the print instead. And also, it comes with this developer's edition. We have a number of sets of examples where you can find from the sample file. Those examples include the receipt example and the multi-line fields example, as well as the examples for the Oracle WMS, etc. And we already described the major features of the Windows driver 8.1. Here we just want to repeat this, make it clear. For this ZBrush Designer for Developers Edition, it requires version 8.1. So with 8.0 5.x drivers, they are not going to be available for any selection in the application. So the application will only pick up the drivers tied to the version 8.1. So now let's get to some examples we provided with this application. First example, we want to create a template to support the print connect. So what is a print connect? A print connect is a standalone application for Android, which is available through Google Play or through Link OS SDK. So when you download Link OS SDK, you go to the demo folder where you can see the print connect. So how it works, the print connect it's a standalone application runs on the Android phone, which takes care of how to discover, connect to the printer. Once it's connected, and then you can have another app, like your own app on the left side. Here, don't get confused. Even though there shows 2 images of Android phone, actually this is the same Android phone, but 2 applications runs independently. So you have your own app on the left side. So once you have the print connect on the right side connects to the printer, then you launch your app. So the responsibility of your app is to find the values for those variables in templates and pass those value of variables through the Android intent to the print connect. Print connect would receive those intents and get the value of variables as well as the name of the template you want to use, right? Because the template file you generated will going to be stored either on a cloud or on the Android device. So the print connect will pick up the template and replace those variables with the values you send from your app and send as a ZPL string to the printer and to print. So there are 2 links here. So you can find the user guide, how to use a print connect, as well how to develop your own app by sending those intent to the print connect. So those print connect application nodes contains those details, what's the name of the intent, how you can specify those values for the variables in template to be sent to the print connect. So this is another diagram from a different perspective to show the flow. So you create your template first, and then you put the template either on a cloud or on the Android device you are going to use, right? And then you download the Android applications as well as your own app on the Android phone, and run the print connector to select the printer you want to print the label or receipt, and then use your app to populate the values for the variables and then print the labels on the printer. Here shows the code snippets in the test connect. So when you download the Link OS SDK for Android, in that package, you go to the same folder where you can find the both print connect, print station, as well as the test connect. So the code snippets shows, what the test, which are those fields test connect use to send the intent to the printer. So for example, here we had the label.prn, that's the file name, reference to the template name to be used by the print connect, and then you pass in those variables, through a map. You populate the value for those variables, you create a map and send along with the intent to the print connect. So here is a screenshot of we use this print connect template that comes with your developer edition application. We define those three variables. You can see here, we highlighted here in the workspace. Those are the names of those three variables: var item, var underscore price, as well as the barcode. So the whatever shows here are the actually shows here as like a initial value. Just happen to be the initial value var item is the same as the name of the variable var underscore item. So that's how we design this template here. Okay, now we need to generate a template to a file, right? So that's where we can put the file on cloud or on the Android device. So here we highlight what selections we choose. If we want to generate a template for print connect, we use generate print file with variables, right? So that's what we use, and then we give it a name, label.print. So because this name is crucial, because we need to refer this name of this template in our app to pass up to the print connect to the intent. So once we have those two things done, and then we generate the output file. So whatever shows in the screenshots is the text string of the output generated by the Zebra Design for Developer tools for that template. So in that template, we highlight the name on the top. That's a label.prn, right? And then we have those variables, var item, var underscore price, var underscore UPC code, right? So in our own application, again, we need to make sure we use those names in our own application when we pass the intent to the print connector. So that give you an overview of how this works, okay? And now we want to give another example, how to use this tool to create a template for the print station. So what is a print station? A print station is another standalone application which is available on Google Play or come with the Link OS SDK in the same folder where you can find the print connector in the SDK package for Android. So it's a standalone application on the Android. What it does, so once you have a template finished, you get a template file either on the Android device or send that to the printer. The tool of the Z Designer for Developer has the ability to whether distribute the template to a printer or store that on a local disk. So you can choose either way. So if you choose to store it on a local disk, and then you have to find another way to load that template to the printer, either through the Zebra setup utility for Windows. That's another example. So you can load that to the printer. So we are not going to cover that in this presentation. So with the Zebra print station application runs on the Android, it will search through. Once you select the printer you want to work with, it will get the templates of the printer and display that on the phone. There is a link. It shows, give you the information how to use the print station for the Android device. So we use the same example, as we used for the print connector, the same label, right? We define those variables, and then what we do is, if we want to create a template for print station, then this time we choose the option store template to printer, right? And we choose ZPL format, and then we output this template generated files to a local disk and name it as a label.zpl, right? And since it's a template print, because the template will be stored on the printer as well, so we want to make sure that they have the same name. So the template name on the printer will be the same label, right? And we choose internal flash. So once we have those selections in place, and then we click on the store to the printer, that will generate those text string output in a file called label.zpl. So this is the content of label.zpl. So you can say here we have one extra line of the ZPL code here, says $dfe colon label.zpl $fs. So what it does, it says, when we send this text string to our printer, the printer will store this template on the printer's E drive. So that's what it does. So it has extra lines. And of course, then we have those variables, right? We defined, we highlighted here. So once you have this on your printer and you open up the print station application and connect to that particular printer, and it will retrieve those templates from the printer. And here we highlight the label.zpl, and you have the actual path pointed to the Android device. That template was listed under the print station, and then you type on, it will pop out. The UI allows you to type in, whatever value you want to put that in the print station, and then you press the print. It will print the label. Look like this. So it's so simple. So you don't have to know any detail about the ZPL, and just use the tool to create a template for you to get a label or receipt print immediately. So let's have another example to say, how do we create a template for other apps, right? So here I cover two cases, but of course, as we discussed for the output for the print connector, you can use the same philosophy we discussed for the print connector for your own app or for some third-party apps, because that text string you can put that into your application, just to replace those variables with the value in your application and send that to the printer. So here we want to cover two other cases: ZPL template printing and XML template printing. Or we use the same label design we discussed it before. So I don't show that workspace of the label design. What I'm showing here is the output UI interface we want to use. So for the operations, we select the store template to printer and then recall the template, right? So we can choose either ZPL or XML. So in this screenshot, we choose ZPL, and we give it a name of label underscore stored recall underscore ZPL.prn. And then we want to send that to the flash, right? And the name for the template to be on the printer, we give it a name label. Okay. Once we have these settings in place, we click on Store and Record button. That would generate the file look like this. So we have two segments of the output into a local file. Local file shows like a label stored and record.zpl.prm. So the first part is exactly the same part as we saw for the print station output selection. That is the last new. The second part, because the first part is going to be stored on the printer. The second part is the record format in ZPL. So we need to include the second part, only the second part in our application, right? By replacing those variable names with the actual value, in our application, and only send the second part of the data stream to the printer. That would trigger the printer to invoke the label.zpl template already stored on the printer to print the label for you. So that's the one way we call this second portion on this screen as a ZPL record format. That's a ZPL record form. Okay, remember. Okay. So now if we want to do the same thing for the XML, right? So in the previous slide here, instead of choose the ZPL, we can choose the XML on the drop down, and we can name it as xml.prn, for example. And the output would be very similar to what you saw for the ZPL. We have two portions. The first portion is a template which is going to be stored on the printer. So you see the character DFE colon on the E drive with the name label.zpl and with those variables. So those are the template, part of the template stored on the printer. And the record format part, which is the second part in the XML format. So make it simpler if you have a solution application is mainly XML based. So you can send this XML templates by passing through those values for those variables, as well as the names of the template on the printer that will invoke the template print on the printer. So this is another way, allows developers to integrate the output of the label and receipt design tool with the solution. Okay, so that concludes my today's talk on the Zebra Designer for Developers, third edition. Now I'm open for any questions you may have throughout the presentation.
Stephen, thanks so much. That was so informative. We actually have a question posed by David K. Are you limited to 8 characters for the name of the file in the printer?
No. Nowadays, the printer is not limited to the 8 yet. I believe it can go up to 15 or 16 characters.
Okay, great. If anybody else has any questions, please feel free to pose those in our question box, and I'm happy to bring those up with Stephen right now. We'll give it just a minute to see. Let's see. David also has another question. Should the ZPL code generated have FV instead of FH?
If you don't have to alter anything from the generated output by this tool, if it's FH, which means the ASCII character would be hexadecimal, and you define what's the character indicator for the hexadecimal data. So when we use that tool to generate, we don't have to do any modification. But if you have some specific values you want to pass in as a hex value, you can manually modify by adding the characters FH with specific character you want to use as the indicator for the hex value in that output file generated by the tool. But usually we recommend we don't make any modification to the generated output But if you do, because you pass the value in a specific format, then you could.
Great, thanks, Stephen. We appreciate all the kudos of the very good presentation. We're really happy that everybody found this informative today. Again, this is actually being recorded, and we will have this posted up on YouTube at a later date. If you know of anyone that wants to see it or you want to review any of the information in this presentation, again, watch for it in the coming weeks. With that, I'm not seeing any other questions at this time, so we're going to go ahead and wrap up the presentation. And Stephen, thanks again for presenting for us today. And should you have any questions, again, please do not hesitate to go to our Zebra developer portal, join our community for free at developer.zebra.com. And in that community, you can also sign up for news and events, so you'll know about all of the future Dev Talks, and we have some awesome ones planned for you in the coming months and the new year. So we hope that you will continue to join us. Thanks so much, everybody, and have an awesome day.
Okay, thank you, Stacy. Thank you, everyone.